What's up, everyone? Eli here, and Louie being a fucking retard like always. Back for another video. We're gonna do a I'm gonna do a collection update video just so I can knock out all this shit that I've got. God, I swear we must just order shit by the truckload. It seems like, but it doesn't feel like that. I think I amass shit over time and I don't show it, so it's kind of a lot of stuff, but it'll be fun. Listening to the 2018 demo by Saltus. Saltus is a doom death band out of Sweden featuring Niklas Rudolfsson from Death Witch and Rune Magic, Swordmaster, among others. Nuclear War Now put it out, and it's my first listen. It's almost over, and this is the last track, and it's just kind of like a droning type track, so you might not even hear it. But anyway, it's worth looking into if you like doom death. I like how Niklas Rudolfsson has stayed really. He stayed really active. He's been doing a lot of shit lately, and that's cool. So, anyways, let's get on with this. I just kind of have random stuff of all sorts of different formats and what have you. We're gonna start off. I only have one vinyl record, but I'm gonna show it first because I should have owned this a long time ago. As this, I mean, this is a must-have record for sure, and I never really owned it in a physical format until now. And got kind of funny story about it. I'll tell you about it in a minute. The record in question is Merciful Fate, the Merciful Fate EP. We all know this one, or we all fucking should. When I first saw this, I saw this in a record store and I grabbed it. And I'm like, I'm thinking, what version is this? And I flipped it around, and I was like, wait a minute, there's no way this is an original pressing because it's kind of like basically a repressed original pressing, if that makes any sense. This was put out by Ravon Records, which put out this record originally, and they didn't change anything on this. This is identical, looking to the original. It even has the Ravon made in Holland in 1982, and I mean, any of you that have the original, yeah, it's kind of cool how they did that. I didn't know Ravon Records were even still a thing. But maybe they're still coasting on the success of putting this out. I don't know. What would be different? I'm pretty sure the center rings are the same too. But what would be different is this is on white vinyl, as the original would have just been on black vinyl. But anyway, it's not just white; it's mostly white. I feel like this is I got one that was maybe a little bit of a dud because there is some pink, flecks, but I can't tell if that was an accident or if there was supposed to be more of them. And it just didn't happen. I don't know if the camera will pick that up, but there's just like a few pink flecks. I don't know. I don't care, but I don't know if that was intentional or not. Anyways, this is one of the best EPs ever made, hands down. For me, this has always kind of, for my favorite EP, I've always kind of felt that this one kind of is parallel with like the Queensryche EP. I always had a hard time, like if I were to choose a favorite, which one would it be? And I go back and forth between those two. So probably both of my two favorite EPs of all time. Next, we're going to move on to some... I actually have some books. I don't usually show books, but I've picked up some cool books lately that kind of... I feel like kind of fit in on this channel, so I'll show them. By the way, I've also ordered a bunch, like the last month or two, I've ordered a bunch of patches, and I haven't been showing them. I've been forgetting to show them, and I've already put them on shit. But here's one that I haven't used yet, so I'll show that. Oh, fuck. Alright, we got Darkened Northern Slaughter Cult, German black metal. I got this from Forever Plagued label out of the US. So yeah, he made this. I mean, I don't know if he made it himself, but he had this made, I should say, for his label. And he did a bunch of, not a bunch, but a couple other bands like Demoncy and Woods of Infinity and stuff like that. So pretty cheap, I want to say, maybe $3 or $4. So really good price if you want some good patches and you like those bands I just mentioned. Go check out Forever Plagued. Hold on real quick. I got something to fucking drink. I'm sorry. Oh boy, I always wondered when I do shit like this how many people stop watching. I'm like, fuck this motherfucker. Anyway, thirsty. Need some caffeine. Alright, books. I'd seen this guy's books over the years. Always a cool presentation, and seems like the type of shit I would like. I'm not at all familiar with this author, but whatever. I finally kind of pulled the trigger on one of his books. This is a collection of short stories, which is really cool. I've always been a short story fan, from like H.P. Lovecraft to the shit that Stephen King did back in the old days. And yeah, I mean, short stories are fucking fun. So we got Night Music, Nocturnes Volume 2 by John Connolly. If anyone knows John Connolly, chime in. Is he a good writer? Did I waste my $6 or what's going on? Thought that'd be cool to read, so I got that. I also picked up The Graveyard Book by Neil Gaiman. I do love Neil Gaiman. I don't see how someone really couldn't if they were, you know, into reading. But anyways, what this is, I wasn't familiar with it prior, but it is kind of like a reimagination of The Jungle Book, only done in like more of a horror theme. So The Graveyard Book. Thought it was a cool idea. Yeah, Neil Gaiman's a great writer. There's no really debating that. This book I picked up at a thrift store. I mean, for any of you, you know, who know a decent amount about me, you know I love dogs, and I picked up this this dog book. It's just like a history of paintings drawn of dogs over you know the course of history, really. There's some really old art in here of, you know, pictures of dogs and shit, and it's really cool, really fucking cool. I haven't really delved into it, but stoked to. God, I may have showed this one before. I don't remember. So if I have, sorry. If I haven't, it doesn't really matter. But I've started reading this a little bit and need to stay focused on that path. God Delusion by Richard Dawkins. I'm sure most of you are familiar with Richard Dawkins. If not, go look into it. And last but not least, I read this book years ago, and well, I didn't own it, so now I do. Got Mr. Begone by Clive Barker. Clive Barker is one of my favorite authors, and yeah, just really cool to have this, and I'm going to read it again. The version that I read was a different, I think I read a paperback or something, so to have this hardcover, really cool. There's that. I got some movies here now, some DVDs. I just picked this up last night. To be honest, I read... It's funny that I bought this. First of all, I bought it pretty cheap, but it's funny that I bought this off, you know, basically after watching a review on YouTube. That the guy didn't seem to care for it all that much, but still, the movie seemed to pique my interest. So we got The Innkeepers, the movie by Maitai West, the guy who did House of the Devil, which House of the Devil was a great movie. Nothing original, of course. It was just a total homage to, you know, like 70s and 80s horror, but it was done really well. So I figured I'd give this one a shot. I'm sure I'll get some enjoyment out of it. I think I paid $4. Next, a movie which I've started watching this a few times, and I'm really digging it. I haven't had a lot of time, and I just haven't finished it yet. So I'm going to try today to watch it, to start over and watch it in its entirety. This came out in 2016. It's called The Ghoul. Put out by Arrow Videos, you can see. I'm really digging stuff that I find put out by Arrow. This is an alternate cover. I flipped it around. The cover that was used originally in the store when I saw it was that. I just thought the other one was cooler, so I flipped it around at that. Arrow always does an original cover, and on the other side an alternate cover, so I think that's kind of cool. Often I use the original. I don't want to... I'm kind of bad at talking about movies without giving spoilers away. If you're a fan of, like, David Lynch, or this movie's kind of getting a lot of comparison to stuff done by Christopher Nolan. I'm not super familiar with his shit. I have seen Memento. But anyways, it's not a horror movie, despite the name. The name is a little misleading, but if you watch the movie... it very much makes sense. Yeah, just check it out. I think it's a fantastic movie. Let me know what you think. Here's a movie that I had watched quite a few times when I was a kid. Haven't seen it in over 20 years. So I thought I'd revisit it, and it's not quite as like gruesome as I remember it being. I remember it being like, oh man, the movie is fucking crazy. It's a lot cheesier than I remember it being, but whatever. It's a fun movie. We got a Dark Man with Liam Neeson, I guess. Anyways, Darkman, and what made me want to rewatch it is a couple things I didn't know about it from when I was a little kid. I didn't know that Sam Raimi directed it. So I mean, I'm a big Evil Dead fan. So Sam Raimi directed it, and just upon learning that, I'm like, fuck, I gotta get it. Of course, Danny Elfman does the music. It's a fun movie. I mean, it's very cheesy, but it's fun. And like I said, the Bruce Campbell cameo at the end. Sorry if that's a spoiler, but it's a movie from 1990, so I don't know if spoilers can be still a thing. But yeah, the Bruce Campbell cameo was great. This is a fun movie. Here's another. This is an all-time classic. Any horror fan I would agree. I had never seen it, believe it or not, until recently. We have Suspiria, Dario Argento, famous Italian director. So yeah, I've known about this movie for fucking ever. And I have some of Dario Argento's movies, not a lot, but I have a few. And I've always meant to see this, and I just never had gotten around to it. I liked it. It was definitely a nice, atmospheric, slow burn. I've only watched it once so far, so I can't really say that I feel the same way about it as some other horror fans. But, you know, that could change. I'll watch it. I'll watch it a few more times. They're actually remaking this. I don't know when it comes out, but soon, I think. I don't know. I'm not a remakes of horror movies don't offend me like they do to some people. I mean, I think it's a cool idea. Sometimes they work and sometimes they don't. But it's like, and I've said this before, if the remake isn't very good, it does not taint the original. It has really usually nothing to do with the original. Usually, you know, 9 times out of 10, it's a different director, and everything is different. It's just, I don't know. I think it's a cool thing. It doesn't always work, but I think it's cool. I don't feel the same way with music, like when bands re-record their albums. Almost nobody likes that, but with movies, it doesn't bother me. I don't know if I showed this. I might have. I got season 3 of Rick and Morty. Really do like Rick and Morty quite a bit. And I hadn't seen season 3 yet, so awesome. This is another one I might have shown, so if I did, yeah, whatever. This is a movie, another one that I've wanted to own for a long fucking time, and finally I have it. We have Eraserhead. This is Eraserhead 2000, so I guess it's remastered. Haven't seen this version, I don't think. I think I've only seen the original. Put out in 2005 by a company called Absurda. I'm not familiar with that at all. I knew about this movie. I found out about this movie when I was like 16, and I think I saw bits and pieces, but I'd never watched it in its entirety. Watched it in its entirety maybe 7 or 8 years ago, and holy shit, man. It's a David Lynch movie, if you didn't know that. It's a absolute legendary movie, and there's so much reason for that. And this movie is just, it's one of the small handful of movies that has left me just feeling dirty and worthless and just fucked up. I don't know how else to describe it. This movie is, the atmosphere this movie conveys is just so bleak. I don't think I've ever seen a movie so bleak. I mean, this movie is just the true definition of bleakness. It is not an uplifting watch by any means, but it is very worth your time. If you're a horror fan and you haven't seen it, I mean, you have to. You owe it to yourself. I mean, this is, if there were 5 horror movies that were like, you have to check these out if you're a fan of horror, this would be on that list. Here's another one. I can't remember if I showed it in one of my maybe last couple videos, and if I did, once again, sorry, I fucked up. But if I didn't, this might interest you. This is called a movie called Mutants. I want to say it's a French movie. I think it's a French movie, if I remember correctly. And just judging by the names on the back, it is. I saw this years ago and let a friend borrow it and didn't get it back for a long time. Okay, first off, this is a zombie movie. I think zombie movies have just been done to death. It's just a concept that nobody cares about anymore. Zombies have become very, very boring, very cliche, very formulaic. But this movie, I feel like, breaks the mold a little bit. This has, I don't want to, once again, I don't want to give any spoilers away, but this movie, for a zombie movie, to me, it feels very fresh. It puts a spin on the zombie genre that as far as I'm concerned, hadn't quite been done before. So this movie is definitely worth watching, even if you're like me and you think the whole zombie thing has become completely stagnant. All right, that's it for that stuff. I have some CDs now, so we'll get through these. Got some pretty cool things in here. Picked up this. I'm a big Sabotage fan, and I didn't have their first full length, Sirens. So I found this. This came out back on Combat Records in 88, I think. It was one of those compilation CDs. They did one for Possessed as well. So it's got their first album, Sirens, with their first EP, The Dungeons Are Calling. I do have The Dungeons Are Calling, but I didn't have Sirens. So this was cool to get. Both great album, great EP. Insanely happy to have that. Here's an album that I had years ago, and I kind of wrote this band off, to be honest, and got rid of it. And now, for some reason, I just got a kind of hankering to listen to them again. And so this is Armored Saint, Symbol of Salvation. This is their 1990 album. Came out on Metal Blade Records. A lot of people consider this one of their best albums. And yeah, can't wait to re-listen to that. Picked this up the other day. I know I've mentioned on here how I'm like, oh, I'm not a big fan of live albums. It's weird that I would say that because I buy live albums all the time. So maybe that's not true. I don't know. But I picked this up. This I want to say this came out in like 2006 or 2007. So this is a re-release on Peaceville Records. Cradle of Filth's 11 Burial Masses. Great set list. I haven't listened to it yet, but the set list is amazing. Full of classics from their first couple albums. This was recorded at Nottingham Rock City in 2001. And yeah, so this will be a cool listen. Playing everything on here. I mean, this is like the era of Cradle of Filth I like the most. So that'll be cool. Next we have, it's funny that I just got this because a couple of us were talking about this album the other day. Eric Bauer and I think Pat from Ground Zero Salem and I briefly talking about this album anyway. Venom Primeval. This is their, I want to say it was 1990 or something like that if I remember correctly. I'm not sure. This is the Craze Records version. Sorry about the glare. I don't think I'm ever going to make a video that doesn't have it. So, anyways, Primeval. Yeah, 1989, I think. Anyways, this is the Demolition Man era Venom, and in my opinion, this is probably the best non-Chronos Venom album. I do like a few of them. Most of them aren't that great, but I think this is it's a strong album. It's a lot of thrash elements going on here. It's a dark and heavy album, and it's quite aggressive, and I've always liked it quite a bit. But it's kind of just my opinion, kind of controversial. Some people, absolutely cannot do Venom without Chronos, and I totally get that. I don't prefer Venom without Chronos, don't get me wrong, but his version of Venom nowadays is terrible, but whatever. I like that album. Haven't heard this one yet, but I got it the other day. This is a band called Goatfire with Fiendish Ruminations. I don't remember where they're from. This is a European black metal band. Came out on Total Holocaust Records. This is just a compilation of their demos. Yeah, I wish I could say more about them, but I'm sure it's going to be some raw shit, and hopefully worth my time, hopefully worth yours. Here's a cool one. I don't know why I'm just finally getting around to having this, but it happened. I fucking love Deceased, and this is Deceased's most recent album, Surreal Overdose, and this is a killer album. Really fucking good. Deceased is one of those bands that really never disappoints, man. I mean, this is their newest album. I think it came out in 2010 or something like that, 2011. And this album can hang with some of their better work, and that's pretty impressive for a band who's been around as long as Deceased have. It's yeah, fucking incredible album. Very, 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 very enjoyable. Back to the Armored Saint thing I was talking about earlier. Liked him a lot when I was a kid. I, however, never had this album, and I've never heard it. But my buddy Chris talks about it pretty often being one of his favorite albums. So this is their second Delirious Nomad he is always, you know, spouting on about how it's their best album, and yeah, I figure it's at least going to be worth a listen, and I'm happy to have that. Here's a band that's been getting a lot of hype the last couple years, and I really never gave them time of day, and this is a total blind buy. Still had never even heard a fucking, you know, one note of their music, so total blind buy. I'm not disappointed, however, it's still not quite my thing. This is the newest album from Chemist called Desolation. Album came out on 20 bucks spin. Chemist are a doom band from the US. The presentation, by the way, and the layout in this thing is very, very well done. That's the CD. I'll flip through the booklet real quick because, I mean, they just did a great job. I mean, some really fucking cool artwork in here. What I like about this band is that, you know, they're pretty good. They're pretty good musicians. The vocalist is... I'm very picky when it comes to, like, traditional type metal vocalists, and he does a pretty good job. A lot of his vocals are very, very kind of doctored up. You know, there's some auto-tuning going on, which suggests that he can't really hit the high notes that he attempts sometimes, but whatever. I mean, this is definitely kind of old school epic doom, but done in a very, very modern way. And you would just have to hear it to understand that. That probably makes no sense. But what kind of bothers me about this album and about some bands that do this is they have this total, like, swords and sorcery, Conan the Barbarian type presentation, but then you go into the lyrics, and the lyrics don't match the imagery. The lyrics are just more based on, you know, inner struggles and stuff like that, and I just wish that the artwork matched the lyrics a little better. And maybe it's just me that feels that way, but it's kind of a roadblock for me in a small way. And here's a band that I really fucking dig and have for a long time. So I'm glad to have their new album. Still haven't listened, and who knows if I'll even get to it this year. I'll try to. Got the new album by Kraft, White Noise, Black Metal, or White Noise and Black Metal. This came out on Season to Mist, Underground Activities, and okay, I love Kraft. Hearing it's pretty good, so stoked to hear it. I don't know if I just said Kraft are a black metal band from Sweden. They're pretty fucking awesome. I dig them a lot. I've heard all their stuff, and they've never disappointed me, personally. Next up, here's a band that I've never owned anything by them, and I never honestly planned on it, but I just picked this up used, and it was quite cheap. I'd seen this band live, and they were really killer live, and I couldn't help but just kind of have an appreciation for them. That is Ex Mortis, Ride Forth. Ex Mortis are kind of like a death thrash band from the US. They're really young guys, and they've been playing since they were, I don't even, like, really early teens. They're probably in their mid to late 20s by now, I imagine. What this reminds me of is something that, to basically paint a picture for you, sounds like something that would have came out on Shrapnel Records in the 80s, but a little more death metal-y, if that makes any sense. Tons of shredding, tons of solos. I wouldn't call this technical metal by any means. I mean, it isn't... They're shredding, and it is blistering, but it's not like, techie, tech death type stuff. I mean, it's more of an old school vibe. They're cool, man. They're a fun band to see live, and I don't think I've ever heard any of their albums, so here goes nothing. Here's another band that I've known about since they came out, really, but I never really gave them time of day until recently, and I'm glad I did. That band being Wrong. I had their first album that I've showed in one of my previous videos. This is their newest album that came out just this year, so it's called Feel Great. And if you didn't see that video, Wrong, Relapse Records, by the way, if you didn't see that video, Wrong are I guess you'd call it like a noise rock band. They sound just like Helmet and Unsane and, that 90s stuff that I've been kind of digging lately. We also have the new Integrity Krieg split. I put the Krieg side out. It's kind of cool, the booklet. The way that it came was with I flipped it around. One side has the Krieg artwork, the other side has the Integrity artwork, which the Integrity artwork is actually cooler. So, I don't know. There's the CD. Came out on Relapse, if I didn't just say that. These are two bands that I've known about for fucking ever, and I really have never listened to them. either of them. So I thought, hey, this is the time to check them both out, see what I think. I listened once already, and I thought it was pretty cool. It was. I'll give it more listens, definitely. I can't say I was blown away, but I enjoyed it for what it was. Krieg being a U.S. black metal band, been around since like the mid-90s, and Integrity being possibly the most popular metallic hardcore band of all time, and they've also been around even longer than Krieg. Early 90s at least. They might have been around longer than that. I'm not an expert on Integrity at all. I know some of you are, though. Here's another album that I've wanted to own for a long time. I don't know why I'm only just picking this up. I have no excuses, but we got Sabotage in the Hall of the Mountain King. This is their second full length. Can't remember exactly. It came out in '87. I think it's their second full length. But anyways, look at this. Look at this. I don't know if it's a drawing or a painting, but look at this artwork on the inside, man. Look at those chins. Holy shit. I think to be in Sabotage, that's one of the main requirements. You have to have an epic chin. I certainly don't, so I don't think I could hang with these guys. But yeah, great fucking album. I love it. Possibly my favorite Sabotage material. Here's a random pickup. I wasn't exactly looking for this, but I grabbed it. Really liked this guy as a kid a lot, and I can still tolerate some of his stuff. It's not something I bust out very often anymore. But we got Yngwie Malmsteen's Rising Force with Marching Out. One of the earlier albums. Came out in '85. I honestly don't think I've ever heard this. I still will bust out the original, the first Rising Force album every now and then. And it's still enjoyable for me, so I figured I'd get some play out of that. And as a lot of you guys know, I've been just digging into the Melvins' massive discography lately. And so I picked up A Senile Animal, and I really quite like this one. This came out in 2006, and this was when they had basically absorbed Big Business, the band Big Business. I think they're from Seattle, a two-piece. They basically, the Melvins invited them, both those guys, to be in Melvins for a while, actually. And so they had two drummers and two guitarists? I can't remember. Anyways, so the Melvins, instead of being a three-piece, became a four-piece. It was cool. It was a cool, interesting thing that they did. And this album's really good. It's, I don't know. I'm not going to go into length talking about it, I guess, because I'm still not a Melvins expert. But to put it simply, I liked it. It was a cool album. If you like the Melvins, let me know what you think about that one. How you think it stacks up, against the rest of their stuff. There's another 2018 releases. 2018 releases. Yeah, it's only one album. 2018 release. I noticed just now that I've quite a few new releases in this stack here. This album right here and band in general has been getting a lot of talk, and to be honest, so much that I almost wrote them off entirely without listening. But I'm glad that I listened, because this is a good album and it's very much my cup of tea. We got Varga Rob with Netherstorm. This came out on Werewolf Records. This Varga Rob is a one-man black metal band out of Finland, if I didn't just say that already. I'm barely waking up, so I'm really tired. And he plays, this is early 90s, early to mid-90s symphonic black metal. Think like Moon and the Scorpio from Limbonic Art, in the Nighttime Eclipse, in the Nightside Eclipse, sorry, from Emperor. What's cool about this is, yeah, it's getting a lot of talk and a lot of attention, a lot of hype. But what's cool is that, like, not a lot of bands right now are playing symphonic black metal in that vein, or really at all. Obviously, up until even like the early mid 2000s, a lot of bands were still playing symphonic black metal, and now almost no one is doing it. It's like, so it's, what I thought was cool is that this guy was not doing something trendy. He's not playing like that occult type black metal that's really popular right now. He's doing something that he wanted to do, and not for the sake of going with the trend. Like, even in black metal, man, people still are major trend followers. I hate to say it. Here's a random pickup. I got this from Forever Plagued also. I got this because I saw that one of the bands on, this is a split, one of the bands was Osculum Infame, and I thought they were the French band, and I was like, oh man, Osculum Infame were cool. And another band called Chthonium, I guess you would call that. So I was like, shit, yeah, I'll get that. But it turns out it's not the Osculum Infame from France. It's one that I didn't know about from Greece. And both these bands are Greek, and both of them had like demos in the early 90s. So that was really cool because I love that old Greek shit. This came out on Kill Yourself Productions. It's a cover again if I didn't show it. So yeah, man, really fucking cool to have. Believe it or not, I haven't listened to it yet because, you know, it takes me 10 years to listen to the shit that I buy. There's a little picture of, you know, the tape demos that they had out in the 90s. And yeah, stoked to listen and even more stoked to have it. A nice little piece of history there. And last but not least, haven't listened to this yet either because I'm fucking worthless. We got the newest album from Extremity called Coffin Birth. Came out on 20 bucks spin. You probably know Extremity by now if you're into death metal. They're kind of a you know, super group. Whether or not you like that term, it's you know, it's kind of true. It's got Aesop Decker from Agalloch. It's got shit. Let me refresh myself. I know Aesop is in it, and Marissa Martinez from Cretan. Who else do we have? We have Shelby Lermo. I apologize, Shelby, if you ever happen to accidentally stumble upon this video. I'm not super familiar with your work, and that's probably just my fault, but I know he's been in, I want to say some Oakland death metal bands and some other shit too. But yeah, they had an EP out, what was it, last year, the year before, something like that, and it got a lot of attention, and it was really good. Short, you know, as an EP is always 4 or 5 songs or something, and just enough to, you know, just enough to make you want more. And so yeah, went for this album, and haven't listened to it yet, but I doubt it'll disappoint. But anyways, I'm gonna stop rambling. I feel like I rambled a little bit more and mispronounced shit and stuttered in this video than I have even in a while. But I have a lot on my mind right now, and I'm sure that's affecting me. And I'm also tired, and I just kind of woke up, and I like doing videos like fresh out of bed, but it's also like the worst time to do them because my brain is still fucking only halfway working. It takes me good half the day to get the blood pumping and everything going. Anyways, as always, thanks for watching, subscribing, whatever you feel like doing. Cheers, we'll talk soon, and thanks for stopping by.